Assalamualaikum everyone. Are you a student or even a teacher who are looking for the best material to improve the understanding about the strength of acid and alkali concept? Well, you are in the right place. Our company has launched one new product which is an educational comic. This comic discusses about the strength of acid and alkali concept. Well, the purpose of this product is to correct the misconception among the students and also can assist the teacher for the teaching and learning process in the class. Interestingly, this comic not only give a true fact and a true concept, but it also included the mind map, quizzes, and many more that fit the student needs and tastes nowadays. Let me assist you to give a bit of preview of our comic. Since I already said earlier, there are so many interesting features in our comic. And some of them are, firstly, we can find many interesting features and graphics. We use this because we want to attract the student interest and also don't want the student to lose any focus and get bored during reading our book. Next, we also use a simple sentence. Why? Because we don't want the student to cause any misconception in the future, and we want the student to understand easily and fast. Other than that, we also use daily life application to make them understand more easily and can improve their understanding. Last but not least, we also include revision material and quiz. Why? Because we want the student to test their understanding and ability after reading the comic. By doing that, they can rate their ability of understanding and can correct their misconception. So now friends, I will tell you our real objective for creating this wonderful comic. First of all, we want to help the student to correct their misconception so that in the future they will have a very solid true concept about the strength of acid and alkali. Second, we want to provide the best material to assist the teacher for the learning and teaching process. Next, we also in a way to produce a very profitable and interesting materials for both parties, which is student and teachers, to improve their understanding about strength of acid and alkali. So, the scope that we cover under the strength of acid and alkali there are three, which is the first one is the number of hydroxide and hydrogen atom. Second, the pH value of acid and alkali. And last but not least is the concentration of acid and alkali. So, what are the exactly things that we cover under this topic? Stay tuned because my team member will explain more about this. As you can see, a bit of comic that I provide in the slide. This is not exactly where we go into the concept of strength of acid and alkali, but yet it is an introduction for the student to give a glance about the acid and alkali. Inside this comic, which is particularly in scene 1, we explain about the weak acid and strong acid and a bit about the pH value.
In scene 2, entitled Don't Be Perplexed or Don't Get Confused, the students are learning a new topic regarding the strength of an acid and alkali. However, a confusion occurs when the teacher starts to ask them to differentiate between the strength of monoprotic acid and diprotic acid. They always thought that the higher number of H atom in the formula, the higher the strength of an acid and alkali. According to a study, we found out that the student will get confused when it comes to the number of hydrogen atom in acid and hydroxide atom in alkali because they thought that the higher number of hydrogen atom and hydroxide atom will have relationship with the strength of acid and alkali. This misconception occurs because the student mistook that when an acid is ionized in water, it will produce hydrogen atom rather than hydrogen ion. So, the student will focus on the quantity of hydrogen atom in the molecule to determine the acidity of the compound. To remove this misconception, we produce a comic that comes with full explanation and also picture to help students to get better understanding. From what you can see here, we also provide an explanation on an equation on how strong acid and alkali and weak acid and alkali dissociate in water, and also a picture of the ionization in the water. The explanation and picture will help students to get better understanding and also to get clear overview of what they are going to learn.
Let me tell you the other misconception that students always experience in this topic. Students always think that the strength of acid and alkali is depend on its concentration. This means that the higher the concentration of an acid, the stronger the acid is. And the same goes to alkali. The higher the concentration of an alkali, the stronger the alkali is. However, this concept is wrong because the strength of acid and alkali is not depend on its concentration, but it depends on the degree of dissociation of the acid and alkali in water. Besides, students always have a misconception on pH value. They tend to think that the stronger the acid, the higher the pH value. This is a wrong concept because the stronger the acid, the lower the pH value should be. This misconception was believed to come from the learning activities in class and student chemistry textbook, where several students confused with the term pH value, which refers to the acidity of acid with acid strength. Thus, in Scene 3, it is focused on these two misconceptions. The setting of Scene 3 was fully in a school laboratory where the student performing an experiment to study the relationship between the concentration of hydrogen ion and the pH value. Before they start the experiment, the teacher asked his student to construct a hypothesis. The hypothesis made by his student was the higher the concentration of an acid, the higher the pH value. The higher the concentration of alkali, the higher the pH value. During the experiment, the student realized that the hypothesis was not tally with their result. After the experiment, they were having a discussion with their teacher, and at last, their teacher helped them to solve the problem and correct their understanding on the strength of acid and alkali. In conclusion, this scene will help the student who also have the same misconception to correct their understanding on the concept of the strength of alkali and acid.
In addition, the reader can recap back and reinforce the concept that they have been learned in the previous scene through a special scene called Miss Aris. This scene tells a story of 4 progressive students where they are having a quiz session with the teacher. This scene highlights some of the misconceptions that students always mislook and they keep repeating the same mistake. So the key of this scene is the repetition of the concept that have been learned, which is the strength of acid is only depends on the dissociation of the acid or alkali in the water. The key concept that has been included in the previous scene is highlighted again throughout this scene. In this scene, the teacher is correcting his students' misconception by providing some example and some explanation. So, for example, we have the misconception about the strength of acid depends on the number of hydrogen atom in the acid structure. So, this is sneak peek from our comic, where one of the students answered incorrectly. She said that phosphoric acid is more stronger than sulfuric acid because she refer to the number of hydrogen atom in the acid structure. That's when the students answer incorrectly,
the teacher directly correcting the misconception that she made. This will show apart from the quiz session where the teacher tests the student on their understanding about the relationship between the concentration of alkali and the pH value of a different alkalis. The teacher also emphasized that they cannot judging the pH value based on the molarity or concentration of acid and alkali given. But the key concept here is they need to identify first the acid or alkali is fall under which category, either strong or weak. Last but not least is the misconception about the pH value, where the student think that the higher the concentration of hydrogen ion, the higher the pH value. So when the students make a mistake during the quiz session, the teacher again correcting the misconception that the student made. So when the reader read this comic, the reader can grasp the understanding. They can strengthen their understanding about the topic that being discussed, and also help them to eliminate the misconception that they always mislook.
Here you come in scene 5. I believe after hearing all the explanation from my team members, all of you become excited and fond to read our comic, right? So, but before that, I will explain a little bit preview of this scene 5. In this scene 5, it tells about the application of strength of acid in daily life, in which these three friends, which is Alif, Zikri, and Aiman, are at the canteen, and something happened to Aiman. So, using the knowledge, the concept that they learned in the class by Sir Rex, they help Aiman to solve the problem, and it shows that their understanding improved after learning the true concept of strength of acid and alkali.
Our comic is not just merely about telling a series of stories, but we also included multiple perspectives of unique features that make our comic more interesting, and thus it make our comic different from the comic in the current market. We got you more than 2 unique features in this comic, and one of them is mind map. As you can see, this mind map that we provided is very attractive. It is very eye-catching, catchy with the presence of the colorful elements, and the added image and visual captivate the reader's sight, and also the font chosen can be read clearly. All the important key point is placed in a one page that make it easy for the reader, especially students, to use as a reference in a quick time. This mind map provides an overview of the topic being discussed throughout this comic. So when the reader has completely read the content, they can just refer to this mind map as an overview. This mind map highlight the main point, the key concept, the what is important about the topic being discussed. And also this mind map is easy to understand by the reader because all the point is clearly stated there. And also it does help the students with their memorization and also the retention. As we know, mind map give a lot of benefits to the students especially. So this is very helpful medium to help the students in helping them to understanding more about the concept, and also help them to eliminate the misconception that they always make. The next special feature that we provided is a section for tips and tricks. This tips and trick is regarding on how to easily classify the strength of the acid and alkali. This tip and trick is not provided in the textbook, so this is an extra knowledge to the students which they can apply this in their learning.
The other presence of multiple perspective of unique features in this comic is quiz is provided. Have you ever seen comic which provide quiz? No, right? But Kill the Misconception has quiz. So the quiz will help the student to enhance and strengthen their understanding on the concept of the strength of alkali and acid. There are 9 questions true or false and 4 questions identifying strong and weak acid and strong and weak alkali. The other uniqueness of this comic is answer and feedback are provided. After answering all the questions, the student can check their answer and read all the feedback of their answer. This will allow the student to know why the question is true and why the question is false. In this comic, there is also an achievement level. After marking all their answer, the student can indicate which level they are in. There are 4 levels, which are unsatisfactory, progressing, proficient, and lastly, advanced. This feature will help them and motivate them to understand about this topic.
Besides quiz, tip, and also mind map, we also add on another unique feature that will make our comic look interesting, which are simulation. The simulation are provided by PET Interactive Simulation, which are based on extensive education research and engage students through an intuitive game-like environment where students learn through exploration. There are 2 types of simulation, which are the acid and base solution and also pH scale. This simulation will help students to explore by themselves and get better understanding. The simulation will help students to feel like they are in lab. As they are explore the simulation, they will get and knowledge behind them. There are many usefulness of our comic. One of it is it was designed to be fun and have colorful background. Our comic also provide the usage of words that are easily to be understood. As a student, they are also teenagers which love something is fun. That's why we came up with an idea to produce a comic instead of normal reference book. A normal reference book have a lengthy paragraph and many words that will make the student to be bored and sleepy while reading it. Our comic is fun and also knowledgeable. So we want to make the student to have fun reading it and also can get knowledge from reading it. Next, teacher also can be benefit from our comic because our comic can be used as a teaching aid also. Teacher can read our comic because we have focused on the misconception that occur among students when learning the topic of the strength of acid and alkali. When the teacher read about this topic, he or she can focus on what not to make the student get more confused on learning this topic. Other than that, at the end of our comic, we also provide tips, mind maps, and also quizzes to help students to get better understanding on this topic. The mind maps are overview of this topic, which is the strength of acid and base, so that the student will not get confusion anymore. Next, we also provide tips and tricks on how to differentiate between strong acid and alkali and also weak acid and alkali. It is simple and easily to be understood. And we also provide quizzes that will help students to challenge themselves to answer the question so that they know which part they are lacking, so they can study more on that part. Lastly, our comic also provides simulation or game that can easily be accessed by students by scanning the QR code that is provided in the comic. It is also aligned with the 21st century learning, which is the use of technology in teaching and learning. This simulation have 2 types, which is the acid and base solution and also pH scale. The student will explore the game by themselves and they can get better understanding because the simulation will help them to understand the topic better.
Why you should buy our product? Okay, first of all, the price that we offer is very affordable and reasonable. It's only cost you RM8 for Peninsula and RM10 for Sabah and Sarawak. The price can be afforded by the students, by the parents who want to buy for the children, and not to forget for the teacher who might want to buy this comic for his or her class, or even school can get it in a bulk quantity to provide to each of the students. Next, as we have mentioned before, our comic, it has some added value that make the comic more valuable and worth every penny you spend to buy this comic. you are not only just get to read the content, the story of the comic, but you also can enjoy yourself while treasuring the comic via simulation. You can assess your understanding through the quiz, enhance the new knowledge with the tips and trick provided, and last but not least, the colorful mind map that highlight the main concept of the topic being discussed. Next, don't worry for those who are preferable to read online in the form of e-comic, because our comic will also be available at Google Play Book. So just Google the title of our comic. You can even get to buy this comic more cheaper than the hard copy. So, and of course, our comic is also available for offline and online purchasing. You can just get our comic at any bookstore near you, or if you are the one who are reluctant to go to the physical store, don't worry, because we provide a solution for you. You can just visit our shop website, which is shop.camsquad.com. Just add to cart and check out there. You can also just tap into your Shopee or Lazada app and just type in Kill the Misconception Comic Acid and Basis Edition to make your purchase. So, everything is in your fingertip. So, what are you waiting for? Grab yours now. We guarantee you will satisfied with the quality and you will not regret spending your money to buy this comic. While enjoying the comic, you will also obtain a lot of knowledge and most importantly, able to get rid the misconception about the strength of acid and alkali. Buy now. It is a must-have product, especially to high school students in Form 4 and Form 5. Last but not least, if you have any inquiries about the product, please feel free to contact us via number phone below, or you can just email us at camsquad.gmail.com. For more latest update, you can visit our social media as stated in the video. Till then, remember, chemistry has an answer to any mystery. Thank you.
That's all from us. Thank you. Do you enjoy our presentation? If you have any comments, opinion, suggestion, or any inquiry about our products, you may contact us in our WhatsApp group. Thank you.